Hi, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. It is Madam Mateni in the house and I am back with another video. So today I am discussing antenuptial contracts, marriage in community of property, marriages out of community of property with the accrual system, and marriages out of community of property without the accrual system. So let's get into today's video. Okay guys, so we are discussing marriages in the type of different marriage regimes that we have in South Africa. Okay, we have a default system, which is marriage in community of property. If you get married without signing an antenuptial contract before your wedding date, right, you are automatically married in community of property, right? And then what does it mean to be married in community of property? If you are married in community of property, it means that you and your husband, merge each other's estates. It means you are one person. It means that whatever he owns, you also own it together with him. If he has a house, you have a half share in that house. If he has a debt, you have a half share in that debt as well. If he is liable to creditors, you are liable to creditors jointly and severally, liable with him to whatever creditors he perhaps owns. That is what in community of property means or entails in a nutshell, right? And then you get marriage out of community of property but with the accrual system, right? So this means is that you guys sign an antenuptial contract before you guys get married. What the antenuptial contract entails is details of both your financial statuses, list of assets that you own before the commencement of the marriage, a list of debts that you have, and that is specifically detailed in the antenuptial contract, right? The reason this is detailed in the antenuptial contract is so that when it comes a point when you have to calculate the accrual, we can first set off whatever you came into the marriage with, right? And then whatever you accumulated during the course of the marriage, you would then share in with your spouse, right? The accrual system is in essence just like in community of property, because you keep whatever you had before you started the marriage, and at the dissolution of the marriage, whether you guys divorce or one of you dies, that's when you actually share. But you guys protect your estates from creditors. If your spouse is liable to some debtors, you are not solely liable with him. If they come for your assets, they cannot come for your assets simply because you're married to this person. So in today's society, personally, I feel like that type of marriage is best suited for young couples that are starting out, that want to protect their assets, particularly if one of them is an entrepreneur and has a lot of business dealings. That one is best. So that is marriage out of community of property with the accrual system is best suited for young couples, for people that have just people that are still getting in. It's best suited for young couples, for people that still want to explore, people that still want to go into businesses, people that want to protect their assets from creditors. And if you've got a spouse that has a gambling issue, you can then opt to be married out of community of property. And then we've got the last one, which is marriage out of community of property without the accrual system. That one, what we're basically saying is you keep everything is excluded. There isn't any joint community at any point, before, during, and after you know, the dissolution of the marriage. There is no there isn't any sharing in each other's estates. So if my estate grows by R1,000,000 and yours grows by 0, I don't owe you anything because we married out of community of property, right? Whereas with marriage out of community of property, with the accrual system, if you started the marriage with 500,000 and at the end of our marriage, or at the death of one of us, your estate has grown by like another 500k, we exclude your initial 500k that you came into the marriage with. We share in the other 500. With out of community of property, without the accrual, we do now share in nothing. We don't share in anything. You don't share anything at all, right? Then you can change the marriage regime, right? Say you are married in community of property and you now feel like, I want to change because of personal reasons. You know, you can approach the High Court to change your marriage regime from in community of property to out of community of property. Obviously, the court is going to look at whether this change will prejudice your creditors. Then if it won't, it will definitely grant the change, right? I feel that in light of events that have been happening in and around South Africa, you know, amongst popular personalities or media personalities, before you sign a post-nuptial contract, read it again, get an attorney to read it with you, and make sure that your reasons for changing your marriage regime are not going to prejudice you at the end of the day. You cannot be compelled to sign that contract. It is something that has to be completely voluntary, and in that change, just make sure that it also favors you as well, and it will not put you at a disadvantage at a later stage, right? That's all I'll have. That's all I'll say about postnuptial contracts, but they are possible. You can get a postnuptial contract if you feel like, you know what, my spouse gambles a lot and I just want to protect our assets. You can approach the High Court, obviously, with such reasons, and the court will grant an order and you to change the marriage regime, and then your marriage will then be out of community of property. If you feel like, you know what, I no longer want to be married, if I want to be married out of community of property without the accrual system at all, still you can approach the court, just as long as that change is not going to prejudice the creditors or you. The court will definitely grant such an application and such a a request. So yeah, man, that is all I had to say about antenuptial contracts, about postnuptial contracts, and yeah, so let's recap a little bit. In community of property is the default system in South Africa, where you automatically fall under it if you did not sign an antenuptial contract before you got married, right? And then marriage income out of community of property with the accrual system, you sign the antenuptial contract, otherwise referred to as an ANC, before you get married, right? And you must specifically state if you are excluding the accrual or not. There, you guys, whatever you brought into the marriage remains yours, but whatever you accumulate during the course of the marriage, then you guys share in that, right? That is best suited for young couples. If you're a divorcee and you've got children with your previous spouse, marriage out of community of property with the accrual may also be appropriate and best suited for divorcees and whatnot, right? But otherwise, I would just advise that you do marriage out of community of property without the accrual system, so that you protect your assets, so that your kids from your previous relationship or your grown-up kids can still inherit from your estate, right? And you and your spouse are just there to love each other, right? But you guys can also still do marriage out of community of property with the accrual system. Whatever you had before you got married remains yours, right? And whatever you build with your spouse during the course of your marriage, then you are entitled to share in that, because you helped to you know, build or accumulate whatever wealth you guys accumulate while you guys are together. So I think that's also best suited for people that have been previously married, people that have children outside of the marriage, people that, you know, that have other children, you know, with different baby mamas, that, you know, if you want your children to share in your assets or in your estate after you pass on, then it's exclude community, but just maybe have the accrual. That would kind of work best. But that's just my 2 cents. That's just me, you know, giving. That's what I think would be then best suited for people that have children with different spouses, people that have children with different women. Marriage out of community of property with the accrual system, sorry. That would be best. Anywho, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please hit the like button. Please comment down below in the comment section. Let's talk about it. What do you think is the best suited contract for people that have been divorced, or even better yet, for people in polygamous marriages? What do you think is best suited for those people? In such relationships, marriage out of community of property without the accrual system is the best for people in polygamous relationships or marriages. Yes, but definitely those ones do need to be regulated by law or a contract. Anyways, that's what the High Court requires. If you're in a polygamous relationship, there has to be a contract that regulates which wife gets what, so that there aren't conflicts when the husband passes on, right? I wonder how this is gonna work with polyandry. I wonder, but we'll see. Anywho, thank you so much for tuning in. Please do hit the like button and subscribe and just subscribe.